Have you ever seen this photo before? It's iconic. One of the most memorable images of the 20th century, popular not only in boxing or even sports, but a picture burned into the collective consciousness of society. We see an impassioned Muhammad Ali standing victorious over a lifeless Sonny Liston. It's a photo you would expect to see from the champ, looking powerful, flexing, and screaming his victory over his fallen opponent. But do you know the real story behind this image? The context behind this exact moment in history? It's May 25th, 1965, and Muhammad Ali is set to rematch Sonny Liston after his miraculous upset the year before. Now, to put this in perspective, Sonny Liston was the meanest, baddest, most brutal heavyweight champ the world had ever seen. He was ferocious. He learned to box in prison while serving time for armed robbery, and he had fists the size of sledgehammers. Ali, on the other hand, then named Cassius Clay, was an unknown 22-year-old loudmouth with great hand speed and fast feet. He was an Olympic gold medalist, but against a monster like Liston, he was as good as dead. So when he made Liston quit on his stool after the 6th round, the world was shocked. There were rumors that Liston didn't train, that it was a fixed fight by the mob, and there was even a federal investigation to look into the fight's legitimacy. By the time of the rematch, the sports world was clamoring for Liston to avenge his loss. And 2 minutes into the first round, boxing history changed forever.
You know the old story, you kill the body and the head might follow. A right hand shot on the chin.
With a seemingly inconsequential punch, Ali dropped Liston and wound up his fists as he stood over the former champion. But he wasn't celebrating. He was mad. Ringside observers could hear him yelling, "Get up and fight, sucker. Nobody will believe this." This wasn't a face of triumph. This was a face of confusion, and the crowd didn't buy it either. Most viewers didn't see the punch land, and Ali himself felt the need to heckle the suspiciously fallen giant. And in that exact moment, Sports Illustrated photographer Neil Leifer captured this photo. To this day, people still argue whether or not the fight was fixed, but amidst the controversy, a work of art was born. The photo is a Renaissance painting. The cigar smoke from the crowd cast an angelic glow over the champion, and the raw emotion on Ali's face portrays the sheer brutality of this violent sport. Whether you see a superhero or a fraud, this photo captures more than just a punch. Like many iconic images in boxing history, it's an embodiment of an era, the soul of an athlete, and oftentimes the heart of the entire sport. Sometimes the story behind the photo gets overshadowed by what the photo represents, and sometimes it's the photo that seems too good to be true. Today's video is sponsored by Rocket Money. What if I told you your bank account is leaking? Not literally, but because of sneaky subscriptions, bills going up, and a budget that's just too hard to stick to. That's why Rocket Money is here to help. The personal finance app that allows you to manage subscriptions, lower bills, build a custom budget, and grow your savings all in one place. I linked my bank account to their platform and it automatically identified all my regular subscriptions. Some things I didn't even realize I was paying for. And with just a few taps, I simply asked Rocket Money to cancel them for me. I also set up a budget which shows me exactly where my money's going, and special insights on how I can stay on track. Their clean, user-friendly app has been an absolute game changer for my finances. To take back control of your finances, get started for free at rocketmoney.com/JMB or click the link in the description. To save more and spend less, that's rocketmoney.com/JMB to get started for free today. This photo signified not only the beginning of Ali's historic rise, but also a changing of the guard in the heavyweight landscape. In fact, there were 3 heavyweight champions in the ring that night. Ali was the future, Liston was the past, and the third man in the ring, referee Jersey Joe Walcott, was champ more than a decade earlier. In 1951, Walcott knocked out Ezzard Charles to become the then oldest heavyweight champion at 37. After 4 failed title shots and more than 20 years in the ring, he was finally the king. But staying on top is harder than getting there. The next year would see him take on undefeated challenger Rocky Marciano. Walcott actually dropped Rocky in the first and built up a sizable lead on the scorecards. It was the first time Rock had been knocked down, and by all accounts, it looked like Walcott would successfully defend his belts. But Marciano was relentless, and after 12 rounds of incessant pressure, he landed his signature Susie Q.
Walcott, it plainly is intent on staying away now. Be careful. That's the right hand, Walcott.
Both men threw their rights at the same time, but the Brockton blockbuster landed first. You can actually see the camera flash that captured this very photograph. Jersey Joe slumped on the ropes, and Marciano was crowned the new heavyweight champion of the world. Marciano would defend his titles 5 more times before retiring undefeated. He left the sport as a fan favorite who hit hard and became heavyweight champ despite being small for the division. Kinda like this guy 30 years later. Now, there are a million legendary photos to represent Mike Tyson's volatile career. The prodigy under Customato, his hubris as the youngest heavyweight champ, or his post-prison villain arc, just to name a few. But to truly capture Iron Mike's place in the cultural zeitgeist, we have to go back to 1997. After an absolute war the year before, Tyson sought revenge against longtime rival Evander Holyfield. Their rematch brought in a record 2 million pay-per-views, and with the whole world watching, well...
Good stiff jab. That's the jab Mike didn't have in the first fight.
What happened here?
After biting Holyfield's ear twice, Tyson was disqualified and chaos ensued. The fight was over, but Mike was still red hot, and everyone in the ring became a target. Holyfield's team, venue security, and Las Vegas police did their best to restrain him.
And Holyfield again, I believe. It is complete bedlam, and Tyson is just taking swipes at anybody in front of him.
This is the photo that defined Mike Tyson. A man with unbridled rage, instilling fear in anyone who opposed him. Tyson versus the world. Look at the expression on this cop's face, realizing he has a pissed off Iron Mike charging right at him. It took about 30 men to eventually restrain him, and Tyson wouldn't be allowed to box for over a year. Long gone were the days of Kid Dynamite and Customato. This was a Tyson that went to prison, now fighting to stuff the pockets of other people. But with the highest highs and the lowest lows, inside the ring and out, he was must-see TV. Misunderstood? Perhaps, but undoubtedly one of the most interesting figures in sporting history. And that trio of Tyson, Holyfield, and Lewis produced an excitement in the heavyweight division that had been missing since the 70s. Like when Joe Frazier knocked down Muhammad Ali to legitimize his championship. Smokin' Joe was the new heavyweight king, and he was knocking everybody out. Then came Big George Foreman. Both undefeated, both tremendous knockout punchers.
I think Joe is hurt. Angie Dundee, Ali's trainer, right next to me is saying it. You may hear him. Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier! Down goes Frazier!
Foreman knocked down Frazier 6 times, beating him pillar to post before the referee called it off. But my favorite photo comes from the 3rd knockdown.
2 knockdowns in the first round of Joe Frazier. Down again! No saving by the bell!
The man who conquered Ali, laying concussed, staring up at an absolute monster. George Foreman didn't just win, he destroyed. Before he was a smiling, chubby grill salesman, he was a mean, menacing bully. So when he got knocked out in the Rumble in the Jungle, it was hard to deny Ali's greatness. The tactician had beaten the tank, and in the process, became a living legend. But the most iconic boxing photo of all time might not come from the ring. In fact, it's not even real. In 1961, fresh off winning a gold medal in Rome, an unknown Cassius Clay told photographer Flip Schulke that part of his secret training regimen included an underwater workout, and that he'd let Schulke get an exclusive shoot if he could guarantee that the story would be published in Life magazine. Schulke got the go-ahead, borrowed a pair of Clay's trunks, and photographed a series of now famous underwater images, one of which was this. Ali at the bottom of the pool in a boxer's stance, a symbol of strength and tranquility. The pictures were published in Life and helped kickstart his meteoric rise to becoming the heavyweight, but more importantly, people's champ. It wasn't until years later that Ali confessed to Schulke that it was all a charade just to get in the magazine. The man didn't even know how to swim, but as the world would soon find out, he did know how to market himself. Even at 19 years old, the future star saw the value in publicity. Ali would go on to become the most charismatic, media-savvy sportsman the world had ever seen. The greatest inside and out of the ring. A fighter in every sense of the word. People often ask why Muhammad Ali is considered the greatest of all time. Because he was a magnificent fighter with the showmanship to match.
I call it the anchor punch, and people couldn't see it. It was so fast. Sport Illustrated they got a slow motion camera, they clocked the punch, and the punch flew at 4/100ths of a second. From the time the punch started to where it landed, it was 4/100ths of a second, which is an eye blink. Like a camera flash, that's 400ths of a second. Now, the minute I hit Sonny Liston, all of those people blinked at that moment. That's why they didn't see the punch. I swear. Now, if you watch the film close, you gotta hold your eyes real close and keep looking about that. And I said, all right, I'm getting ready to hit him. You got to hold your eyes and wait, so you won't see it, man.